baseball fans. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Welcome into On Deck. I'm Tyler Redmond. As always, thank you so much for checking in. I do appreciate it. While you're here, make sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and hit the bell for notifications so you can stay up to date with everything going on here at On Deck and, of course, with the Atlanta Braves. Now, the Braves are, of course, hopefully gearing up for a postseason run. It's not guaranteed yet. The magic number is down to 5, but the Phillies are not yet out of it. In fact, it's going to cause for one of the biggest series of the year for the Braves to happen starting tomorrow. That's right. They play the second-place Philadelphia Phillies in one of, I think, the biggest series of the year in terms of the regular season. I think this is the biggest series of the year. I've had it circled since the beginning. I thought the fact that the Braves were going to have to finish the year facing the Phillies and then the Mets, when the Mets were still competitive, was going to be an interesting, turn of events because it was cause for worry. At this point, I'm not so much worried as I am excited. I think this series is going to be a fun one to watch. I think it's going to be competitive. I think all these teams are going to pull out all the stops, and I think it's going to be an interesting one to watch. If you're worried about the series and you're a Braves fan, let me give you a bit of a confidence boost. The Braves are going into this series with a 2.5 game lead. That is huge for the Braves. That is a major advantage going into this series. Not to say that it's not still a must-win, but you can afford to lose. The Phillies cannot. If the Phillies get swept here, they are eliminated from postseason play immediately. The Braves, if they manage to sweep the Phillies, they immediately clinch. So this is a big series all the way around for multiple different reasons, depending on the team. So I would say this, if you're worried about the Braves, I think the odds are certainly in their favor. In fact, Fangraphs, I looked it up, Fangraphs has given the Braves an 87.5 chance of winning the National League East. So I'm not so much worried about the Braves making it to the postseason as much as I am hoping that they do it earlier rather than later. Because, look, if you win against the Phillies, you don't have to worry about the series with the Mets. And at that point, you get to rest players, you get to explore options, you get to do all kinds of things if you're the manager. And I think that, could be a major advantage, when you got to plan for a team in the postseason. So we'll see what happens there. That should give you some resolve if you're worried about this series with the Phillies and, of course, with the Mets to follow. I think the Braves are going to be just fine. Now, I understand if you're worried because if you look at the head-to-head matchup with the Phillies, right, you would think that depending on what part of the year you watch, you would think that the Braves probably have the winning record over the Phillies head-to-head. They don't. The Phillies have it 9-7. Now, granted, most of those games were played before the second half. In fact, 11 of those games were played before the second half. 12 of those games were played before the second half. And the Braves didn't really come into themselves until the second half. I think we can all agree there. I don't think that record, frankly, shows what the Braves are necessarily. Remember, in the first half, the Braves had a losing record to finish it all, 44-45. The Braves are a much better team than that now. Their record shows it. Their stats show it. Their attitude shows it. And frankly, I think a lot of things show it. I think the fact that we're talking about a postseason based on where we were at the midpoint in July shows you how much the Braves have changed. They currently sit at 83-72. Compare that to 44-45 for a second. You went from a losing record to not just a winning record, but a much better record. And with that, in the second half so far, the Braves are 39-27. Now, granted, the entire dynamic of the National League East has changed. The Nationals sold everybody. They plunged to the bottom. The Marlins are still subpar, and the Mets spiraled out of control. So that only left the Braves and the Phillies to compete. But it's hard to deny just how much better the Braves have become since the trade deadline. And you have to give credit to, once again, the adjustments in the front office, the adjustments on the field by the players, and how good they've been offensively. You have to give credit all around. But the trade deadline, I think, is the biggest thing this year. Richard Rodriguez, been great for the pen. Jorge Soler, Eddie Rosario, Jock Peterson, been great off the bench, been great wherever they've been plugged in. Adam Duvall has come in and performed like we all hoped he would, and I think they've all been great in their different roles. None of those guys that we got at the deadline has been useless. Not one. They've all filled the need, and they all filled it extremely well. So you got to take that into consideration here when you're looking at this year as a whole. Just remember, it wasn't that long ago that people were talking about selling the team and starting all over. You remember that? You remember that now we're looking at a postseason possibility, a good possibility, more than a possibility, a probability. And, that's what we're staring down. This year has been a journey, but none of that matters anymore, right? Because now you're moving into the part of the year where numbers only predict the past, right? Everybody's playing for something. The stakes are higher, right? That's what I mean. This is where we're really going to get into the postseason field. This is the start of the postseason, in my opinion, for the Braves. You got a huge series with the Phillies, right? And then you got either a meaningless series with the Mets or a series that you really just need to basically par your way through and get to the postseason, right? You're in the postseason at this point. This series with the Phillies is the biggest thing until the postseason. It just is. The Mets series, I'm not even concerning myself with. The series with the Phillies is huge. Now, with that, what do we know about this series? The only thing we really know is, frankly, who's starting. I can tell you that right now. The Braves have already announced it, and so have the Phillies. In Game 1, it will be Charlie Morton. And Charlie Morton has had a great year, 3.53 ERA. He is 13-6 on the year. And Charlie Morton has been everything that the Braves hoped he would be. Now, the postseason is why we went and got him, so hopefully he performs there too. But his presence throughout the regular season has been a great example for the younger guys in the staff, and he has been a consistent hand when needed the most. His placement here in Game 1 is earned. He needs to set the pace in a series like this. Plus, this sets him up, timing-wise, to once again start us off in the first postseason game of the year, likely against the Brewers. He will be facing Zach Wheeler in Game 1 of this series, who is Philadelphia's ace without a doubt. But if there's one guy that I want on the mound in this situation right now, in a postseason-like environment, it's the guy that's been there before, and that's Charlie Morton, without a doubt. He is the guy that you want in that situation. Now, Game 2, Max Fried, obviously. I mean, who else are you going to put there, right? What else can we say about Max Fried that hasn't already been said? This year, 3.12 ERA, 13-7. It wasn't that long ago that we were just talking about the potential that Max Fried had, right? It wasn't that long ago we were talking about whether or not he could fill Soroka's shoes. And now he's evolved into an ace of his own. And I think that's absolutely fantastic for the Braves, obviously, but it's fantastic for him as well. And if you're not confident with Fried on the mound, you should take another look. Now, he will be facing Aaron Nola, who the Braves have been able to get to, and this is what I consider a must-win Game 2. All of these are must-wins, but in this series, when you look at the pitching, this one is a must-win. You got to be able to get to Nola early, and you got to win this game if you're the Braves. Now, Game 3 is a flip of a coin to me. I think Game 1 and Game 2 are winnable. As tough as Zach Wheeler is and can be, I'm confident with Morton on the mound. I'm confident with Fried on the mound. I'm a little less confident with Ian Anderson on the mound. It's not a knock on him, but Ian has had a very interesting year. 3.60 ERA, 8-5 on the year. He's been inconsistent at times. And though his 3.60 ERA doesn't scream off the page and scare you, considering the time he's missed due to injury, the consistency issues are a bit understandable, not to mention the youth and inexperience that we tend to forget about when it comes to Ian, and frankly, all of our young pitchers, especially within a postseason-like environment. You know, I'm not saying that it's going to get to him. I'm not predicting that, but this is the one game that I put a question mark on. Now, he will take on Kyle Gibson, which in my opinion will be a very evenly matched pitcher's duel. I fully expect the Braves to come out swinging here. It's going to be a flip of a coin in Game 3. Game 1 and Game 2 I think are winnable. Even with Zach Wheeler on the mound, I'm confident in Charlie Morton to be able to perform there and keep the runs low and give the Braves a chance to win. Ian, I'm a little worried about in terms of longevity. And I think it's going to come down to how long the bullpen can go. I think that's what I'm really worried about there. But I fully expect the Braves to come out swinging and be out for blood here. They're going to want to clinch this, and they're going to want to clinch it early. That way the series with the Mets is an afterthought. And you win here, you concern yourself with your likely first opponent in the real postseason, and that's the Milwaukee Brewers more than likely. So this could be considered the start of the postseason for Atlanta. I hope you're ready for it. I know I'm ready for it. If you want to follow along with the postseason, the best place to do it is by subscribing here. Turn on the notifications. I will be here throughout the entire postseason talking you through what Atlanta's doing, what I think they should do, what they could have done better, maybe what they did do better. We'll talk about it all throughout the postseason. I can't wait. I know you can't wait too. And look, guys, make sure you tune into the Phillies series. And one more thing before I go, I wanted to send a special thank you to Bash Brothers. I know you're out there. He finally sent me some pictures of me and him and his brother at the game a few months ago. And this is it right here. Thank you, buddy. I do appreciate it. One more thing. I will be at the game Thursday. I think I mentioned that earlier. I will be at the game Thursday night. So if you see me, come say hello, and I'll put you on the show just like I put Bash Brothers on the show. So with that out of the way, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I do appreciate it. See you next time right here at On Deck.
Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support.